You know, it's pretty wild how complex our world is. I mean, think about everything from our smartphones to our political systems. And yet, it turns out the human brain has some surprising limits. We're going to dive right into that paradox, because it turns out our greatest strength isn't what's in our individual heads, but what's happening between them.
So to get us started, I've got a simple question for you. Just think about a zipper, right? Maybe the one on your jacket or a bag. On a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being no clue and 7 being I'm an expert, how well do you really feel you understand the mechanics of how it works? Go ahead, get a number in your head. Got it? Great.
All right, now for step 2. I want you to actually pause for a second and try to explain it, out loud, step by step. Seriously, how do those little teeth interlock? What's that little wedgie thing inside the slider actually doing? Give it a real shot. Okay, you done? Now for the final step. Rate your knowledge again, using that same 1 to 7 scale. If you're like most people, I'm willing to bet that second number is just a little bit lower than the first one.
So that feeling, that little, oh, wait a minute moment you just had. Well, you've just experienced the core concept we're going to be exploring today. So let's start by officially uncovering this myth of knowing.
And look, this isn't just about zippers or little everyday objects. As we're about to see, this illusion scales up, way up, to some of the most complex and high-stakes fields you can possibly imagine.
A couple of cognitive scientists, Leon Rosenblatt and Frank Keel, actually gave this phenomenon a name. They called it the illusion of explanatory depth. It's basically that huge gap between what we think we know and what we can actually prove we understand. And what's so amazing is the trigger to reveal it is so simple. You just have to ask someone to explain how something works.
And please, don't feel bad about the zipper thing, because this is not just a you and me problem. I mean, get this. Back in 1954, top U.S. physicists, we're talking the director of bomb testing here, they vastly underestimated the power of the Castle Bravo H-bomb, and it led to a total catastrophe. In another study, you've got university students who can't even accurately draw the frame and chain on a simple bicycle. The key idea here is that we are constantly mistaking being familiar with something for truly understanding it. So all this kind of begs a really fascinating question, right? If our individual understanding is really that shallow, what are we even working with? What's the actual storage capacity of our brains? Are we like walking supercomputers or something else entirely?
Okay, get ready for this, because the answer might actually shock you. According to research by a cognitive scientist named Thomas Landauer, he ran all these experiments and estimated that the average adult's usable individual knowledge base is about 1 gigabyte. 1. To put that in perspective, that's less than a single movie you download. It just puts a really stark number on how limited our individual brain power really is.
Okay, so if we're all just walking around with these pretty limited hard drives in our heads, how in the world did we manage to build civilizations and go to the moon? Well, the answer is in our next section, and this is where the whole story pivots from being about a human weakness to our greatest superpower. This is the central argument from the book, The Knowledge Illusion, and it's a powerful one. It says that our individual ignorance, this lack of knowledge, it isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's actually the necessary ingredient that allowed for a much more powerful kind of intelligence to evolve. So let's break down where knowledge actually lives. On the one hand, the information inside any single person's head, well, it's limited. It's pretty superficial. It's about 1 gigabyte. But on the other hand, the knowledge that's stored across an entire community, in other people, in books, in our shared systems, that is vast. It's specialized, and it is incredibly powerful. The point is, we don't need to know everything because we are part of something that does. You know, the authors of our source material, Stephen Sloman and Philip Fernbach, they just nail it with this quote. They say, true intelligence isn't an individual thing. It's a collective one. We are literally designed to plug into a shared network of minds. So how do we pull this off? Well, it all comes down to collaboration. We have what's called the division of cognitive labor. You know how to be a doctor. I know how to be an engineer. Someone else knows how to fly a plane. We also have this uniquely human thing called shared intentionality, which lets us work together on a common goal. We're constantly outsourcing our memory to the world and people around us. This is our real superpower. Okay, so this is all great in theory, but what does it actually mean in the real world? Let's take this whole idea and apply it to one of the trickiest areas of modern life, politics. But this leads to a pretty serious question, a really critical one. Our reliance on the group is our strength, for sure. But what happens when our groups stop talking to each other and only start listening to themselves?
Well, that's where you run into the huge danger of political groupthink. When a bunch of like-minded people only talk about issues with each other, they don't get more moderate, they actually become more extreme. They just reinforce each other's sense of understanding, making that illusion even deeper, and creating this awful feedback loop of polarization.
But here's the cool part. The very same research that pointed out this massive problem also found a surprisingly simple, well, an antidote. And it's a word we've already used today.
That antidote is asking people for a causal explanation. When you take someone with a really extreme political view and you ask them to explain, step by step, the real-world consequences of the policy they want, like how would it actually work from A to B to C, that illusion of understanding just shatters. Studies show they suddenly see the complexity they were ignoring, and as a result, they actually moderate their own extreme stance. It's amazing.
You know, when you think about all this, it really forces you to kind of step back and ask, what does it even mean to be smart anymore? So our final section is all about redefining intelligence for this new collaborative world. I mean, think about it. Our culture, our movies, our history books, we are obsessed with the story of the lone genius. We love to wrap up these huge historical events and tie them to one single heroic person. Martin Luther King Jr. is a perfect example of this. But the reality, of course, is so much richer. Dr. King was one absolutely vital part of a massive, collaborative community of activists. You had people like Bayard Rustin, a master strategist, and Ella Baker, a genius grassroots organizer. They were all essential. And this shows that true intelligence isn't just about solving a problem by yourself. It's about how effectively you can contribute to a team to reach a shared goal. There's this fantastic analogy that just perfectly captures this shift in thinking. The ultimate act of intelligence isn't just having a brilliant idea, like planting a single seed. It's building the community, the culture, the environment, where tons of great ideas can take root and actually grow. So, what's the big takeaway here? What's the one thing to remember from all this? It's that being truly smart isn't about knowing everything. It's about embracing intellectual humility. It's about understanding the limits of your own 1 gigabyte of knowledge. Your real power lies in knowing how to find, evaluate, and collaborate with that vast community of knowledge that's all around you. All right, so I'm going to leave you with a little challenge, a question to chew on. Think of one belief. It could be political, social, even personal, that you hold with really deep conviction. And now ask yourself honestly, have you ever actually tried to explain, step by step, how that belief would work in the real world? Give it a try. The answer might just surprise you.